This is the ALGO Podcast, episode 6 with Daniela Rizzo. We explore topics surrounding genuine connection and communication between people, what it's like dating in this culture, in this country, with dating apps and social media. That's my parrot in the background. I already brought him in and I forgot to film this intro, so he's staying here. She's laughing in the background. Hope you guys enjoy the video. We also touch a bit on how it's been for her to blog about dating in your 30s as a single woman. So if you guys have any questions or any comments you want to leave for the next episode, I'm sure we'll have her on again. Please leave them down below. I've linked Dani's blog and Instagram in the bio, and we will see you next time. Enjoy. Fucking ugh.
Sorry, I laughed.
No, it's all right. Give people a brief intro to what your blog is about. Let's assume no one has seen it.
So, my blog is about, so it started as a sort of like fight back, but also to support loads of women that are my age that are dating or have been single shamed, or they're struggling to meet someone, lots of different things, and they're worrying about like getting older, about their biological clock ticking and all of those things, like everything that comes into it. And the whole purpose was I guess to like speak out, but also to build a bit of a community of women that are going through the same thing. So I talk about lots of different things. I talk about embracing being single. I talk about like how I manage anxiety around not having children, potentially never having children, my thoughts around those sort of things. I also talk about dating in general, the kind of stuff that people go through in the modern dating scene. Also like dating terms and all of those things. So it encompasses quite a lot, I suppose.
What kind of community do you want to build with it? Because I am not in my 30s or a woman. So is there a place for me in there as well?
Well, actually, a lot of men read it, which I find quite strange because actually it's not really targeted at men. But I do have a lot of single male friends that read it. And it's interesting because I always saw things from, I guess I've always seen it from my point of view. But I've always had really deep conversations with my friends that are women. And they've explained like how difficult it is to date and the struggles that they go through and men not replying and all of these things. But since I've started this blog, I've then been able to speak to a lot more men that struggle with the same challenges. So actually, I now think, to be honest, it's not really gender specific, is it? I think it's just the way the world has moved and the way dating is right now, being digital through apps. And I just think people are just different in what they want and what they don't want, and it's not the same as it used to be before in terms of like you just meet someone, you kind of settle down, have a family, etc. Everyone wants completely different things. People have different levels of drive and ambition, so there is a space for you in it in a roundabout way. Because I guess a lot of it is really about like how I'm building my confidence around the stage I'm at in my life and not worrying so much about what people think or what everyone else is doing and that everyone else is married with children and I'm not. And so I guess from a male perspective, it can be the same thing. I mean, you know, men still worry about their own timelines, right? So people still worry that if they're 36, 35, whatever, in their 30s, and they don't own their own house, for example, their own property, or they're not like married with children, etc. I think that can be the same across the board.
In a nutshell, what is the dating world like?
Interesting. But I do sometimes think that I don't know, I think people have different experiences in the sense that, you know, some people find it really easy to meet someone and get into a relationship. A lot of my friends do, for example, they'll maybe meet someone, go on a few dates, and suddenly it's fine. They're in a relationship and it's like happily ever after. But there's a lot of us that do not find that and that really struggle. And now that I think now that I've dated for so long and that I've gotten older and that I've gone through therapy and that I'm analysing all of this so much, I do think there's a common theme between me and my friends that are single and compared to people that meet people easily and get into relationships.
What is the common thread?
I'd say the common theme is, I'd say a lot of us, maybe they wouldn't want to hear this, but I don't know, I'd say a lot of us have this belief that we're not going to meet someone. It's like an innate unconscious belief deep down that because it's gone so wrong up to this point, and because every date you go on is just like, you know, unsuccessful, or the person doesn't reply, or they go cold, or they ghost you, etc. I think that kind of sets the tone, and you end up believing that. You end up believing that every date is going to be like that, or every interaction is going to be like that. So I would say, like, I've got into a massive like cycle of, I talk to loads of people. I have people messaging me through Instagram. I get asked out on dates, like through the gym, when I'm out, through work, etc. But they never actually move forward. And I think that's true for a lot of other women that are my age that are single.
Do you think that there have been chances where it could have developed into something nice, but because you have that innate belief that I'm not going to meet anyone, that it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy? Like not self-sabotage, but if you didn't believe that, then the thing with this person would have actually, something would have come of it?
And maybe not those specific people, because I do think that I attract the same sort of person, and I think that's something that I'm trying to work on. I think it's if I believed that I could meet someone easily, I'm sure that I would. It's not necessarily, how do I explain this? The people that I'm coming across that are messaging me, etc., I don't necessarily think they're the kind of person that really does want to be in a relationship, or that does want to date. I think they're more the kind of people that message you because they want a bit of an ego boost and they fancy flirting with you, or, you know, the people that they're currently dating or whatever aren't maybe replying. So
they are the breadcrumbers and the orbiters.
Yes,
whatever that means.
They're the breadcrumbers and the orbiters. Whereas
what does that mean?
So
what is breadcrumbing and what is orbiting?
Yeah, breadcrumbing is a funny one. So breadcrumbing is when you give someone enough response and attention to keep them there, sort of. So to keep them thinking, oh yeah, they are interested, because I get a message every so often from them, or we have a conversation every so often. But they never really sort of like, it never really goes any further. They don't really follow through, but they're kind of just keeping you there because they might need you, because you're an option, and they might need you if all else fails. And if they decide to like suddenly meet up with you, or, you know, get a bit of attention, etc., you're still there. Whereas if they stopped all contact altogether, it's harder for them to then keep doing that. So that's breadcrumbing, and you know, lots of people can do that. You know, friends, etc. It's when you're just getting, you're not getting like consistent, like, you know, sincere communication. You're just getting.
I like that, sincere communication.
Yeah, it's not genuine, is it? Yeah. It's not genuine. They don't care. They're just asking how you are, so that you're just there, just in case.
What's the difference between that and orbiting?
Orbiting is when someone's just kind of like in your vicinity, and they're just around.
Like physical presence?
They don't necessarily... Well, it's mostly, from what I've read, it's mostly about social media. Mm-hmm. So, for example, you could have gone on a date with someone, happens to me. You could have gone on a date with someone, you like them, you've tried to continue communication with them, and then they've just not really responded to you. However, they watch your stories, they like your posts, and they might react to your stories every so often, but basically never really end up having a conversation with you. That's orbiting, is like they're basically just always around.
So it's like one step down from breadcrumbing, like a little bit less attention.
Yeah. But, you know, the whole, the purpose of it, I guess, is the same. And sometimes, I don't know, is it a conscious or unconscious thing? I don't know. I think for some people, maybe, probably is. But sometimes I just think, I don't know, people think that that's okay.
It's one of those things where, because I'm so, like, I feel like I'm the granddad talking with the kids about what's going on with the youth now, because I'm on social media, sure, but I'm not in the world of social media dating. So even when you told me like 2 days ago, yeah, let's talk about breadcrumbing, I'm like, huh? Is that when you feed ducks? So it's like, yeah, let's talk about orbiting. Those words mean nothing to me. And because it's the culture that has somehow, it is what it is. Like, this is the culture now. I think some people definitely do it consciously, some people do it unconsciously, but because it's so acceptable, more and more people just kind of do it. Because on average, I think people will look for an excuse to be very self-centered in what they do.
Yeah.
Like, ghosting is just the norm now. Whereas, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, whatever it may be, you would need to, it would be an active choice. Okay, I'm not going to talk to this person ever again. I'm not going to communicate with them. But now it's just like a reflex. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't ghost them.
Yeah,
you know?
and actually I think, I'm just thinking something now. I think that's because of the digital world though. Because, and I do think like we always have, like I get very frustrated with dating, but I do have to think, look, like the world's changed massively in the sense that, you know, if someone's like orbiting you or whatever, and they're liking your posts, etc., you do also have to remember that a lot of people will like other people's posts because they want the other person to engage back with them on social media. And so sometimes it's not to be taken, you know, it's not to be taken seriously if whatever guy or whoever I find attractive is liking my posts. Sometimes, yes, because they actually like it. Other times it may be because, I don't know, they're trying to keep people happy so that, or not happy, but engaged so that people engage with them at the same time. And I guess with the whole ghosting thing, like if you would have dated years ago when we didn't have, or we weren't as present on social media, then you would have most likely dated people that you would know or would have met through people or somewhere down the line, right? And they wouldn't be like complete strangers, which means that actually because of that, you potentially know their friends or you potentially know people that they know. And actually there's a real risk of you ghosting or being disrespectful because other people will see you as a bit of an idiot or whatever, or maybe call you out on it. However, if you are meeting strangers that you don't know and you've decided, you know, after a couple of dates that actually they're not worth dating anymore and you ghost them, there's less implication, right? Because it's like, probably won't see that person ever again. Like London's a big place, or, you know, wherever you are, you're unlikely, or you might bump into them again, but you don't really know anyone that they know. So actually, does it matter? It does. But I guess from the person that's ghosting perspective, does it matter?
I think the big thing that you bring up is that when there's less people in the world or in your world, there are more consequences to what you do. Because when we have the chance to be anonymous or to do something free of consequence or to dehumanize the person that we're engaging with, which is what you're doing when you're ghosting them. It's I have made the decision, you are not worth even telling, you know what, I had a good time, but I don't think it's for us.
Yeah.
When, just like you said, if everyone knows each other, you're more likely to respect them. You're more likely to carry yourself in a way where, okay, if I treat them like a piece of shit or like a piece of meat, everyone is going to know. And that's the dangerous thing with social media, because you can connect with everyone, but then so many different worlds are colliding. Your own world is not where you are. You're always out there.
Yeah.
So you can engage with like so many people from this country, from that country, and it really does bring out the worst in us. It's not necessarily as simple as bad people do bad things, because we're all capable of great many things. I think it's that when we are given the chance, the more anonymous we can be, the more likely we are that bad things are going to come out.
Yeah.
In the same way why certain affairs happen the way they do, or when adultery is committed, or when people cheat on each other, a lot of the time it's because they think they can get away with it. Whereas if you know you can't, like murder, for example, I'm fully convinced with myself, if it was okay to do certain things, I would do them. I'm not saying I'm going to murder anyone, but because these consequences are there. So when you have social media, it's like, I can do what I want. You don't matter, you're here to serve me, you're here to serve me. So it's tricky.
And the amount of I've had me and everyone else, a lot of other women have like the amount of weird things you get sent through, or like, unsolicited dick pics. Would you do that in public? Would you just get it out in public? No, you wouldn't. I've had someone sent me, they got blocked, but someone sent me a picture of them sitting naked on the toilet, unsolicited.
Nice.
I've had comments about just like people like replying to my gym reels with like really ridiculous comments, or like comments about my body and stuff, and you think, and I'm not saying like I'm this like amazing person that everyone fancies at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like, if you ask like most women that are single or not even single, they will get that. And so I think that actually social media sometimes gives people a platform to be more misogynistic in a way. And because it's like they're not doing it face to face, it makes it easier to do, so what's sending a rude message to someone, or what's sending a message of your, penis or whatever to someone, if actually you're probably not going to see that person face to face.
Yep.
It's still funny, but yeah, like, but I do think, I don't know, maybe this did happen like pre-social media. I don't know, probably it did, I don't know. But I just think it opens up like a lot of avenues, and I think it does make it so much easier just to like breadcrumb a lot of people, or ghost everyone, or
harass them,
or, multiple things.
Yeah, the more people, half of the things that most people do online, they would never do in person. And in the same way, if everyone was human to each other, if everyone was humanized, a lot of people would not treat others the way they are treated. A lot of men would not treat women the way they do, because they would actually realize and understand that is someone's mother or daughter or sister, in the same way a lot of women would realize that is someone's father, that's someone's son, that's someone's brother. The more anonymity you give people, the more distance there is online, just shit happens, and it's horrible.
Yeah, but even on apps, right? Like, so obviously that's not social media, but it's a digital platform. And so years ago, I downloaded Tinder once, and I never used Tinder ever again, because that was a whole load of overwhelming. Someone's profile picture was their penis.
I'm surprised that got verified.
So am I. And I literally couldn't believe that had just come up, because I was like, how are you But obviously, like, he didn't show his face in any of the photos. So again, it's that being completely anonymous to the point that actually it's fine. I'm just gonna put my penis out there as my profile picture.
Yeah.
And you think there was only one of those? Like, several men did that, and that was the moment I logged off and deleted that, to be honest, because I was like, wow, what's going on here? Like, what is going on here?
Well, this is actually, the anonymity also gives people with, let's say, because people have a kink for that kind of stuff. People have a kink where it's like, let me just expose myself because I get a rush off of it. The anonymity allows people with kinks that other people don't want to be involved in to express it to them. Like, if there was a specific section of Tinder where it's like, okay, do you want to include matches of people revealing yourselves? You're like, yeah, why not? Like, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's because you don't want to see it and you shouldn't be seeing it.
On that platform. I mean, obviously there's other apps for other things.
Make a platform just to show your penis to people if you want, but keep it off this.
And also, like, I'm also not saying if you are talking to someone or whatever, or you're seeing someone or dating someone and you want to send those things, great, do what you want. But it's very weird when you're sending it to someone you've actually never spoken to or that you've only just started speaking to and never met in person.
There's it reminds me of a friend of mine I have, not going to say her name obviously, but a lot of the dates she's been on recently, for some reason, she attracts guys where on the first date, like the last 3 of her 5 dates with completely random people, as they're, let's say, in the park, like in a quietish area, they just whip their penis out.
5 dates?
3 of the 5 did some kind of thing revolve around that.
Right.
And it's the thing that really sucks about that, and when you see those pictures, is because it's clearly not the first time they've done it.
Yeah.
They've done it before. They've gotten away with it before. It's a very gross thing to think that multiple people have been on the receiving end of something like this.
And also, actually, this reminds me of something from the other day, and it's kind of, no, it's still dating related. I've been asked, there was someone that I was friends with, and lots of people know him, and he does really stupid things all the time, and everyone kind of lets him get away with everything. But he asks me out a lot, and I've said no, because I just don't think we'd be a good match. He's not the kind of person that I'd want to date, etc. And then he started sending me like insults, and so obviously I was really like taken aback by it, and I told people that know him, and I was like, this is a lot, like, and I know that he sends that kind of stuff to other women as well. And I said, I want to report it. Like, I want to do something about it because this isn't acceptable. And his friends said, oh yeah, but that's what he's like. But then that's why it's okay to do that stuff. That's why it's okay to get angry if someone says no to dating you and insult them and call them, like swear at them and call them names, or that's why it's okay for people to send like, or like, put pictures of their penis up or flash people on dates, or, which happens, like you said, because no one says anything about it or does anything about it.
And some of their friends even actively encourage it.
Or will laugh, or will find it funny.
Or play it off, or something not ideal. No, it's a really difficult thing. It's times like this where I think it would be a nice thing where it would be more acceptable to publicly shame people or publicly ostracize them, because we're very social creatures, people. We want to fit in. If I'm doing this disgusting behavior towards you, let's say in this context, I'm the man, you're the woman, I'm doing this thing. If I'm then accepted for it, I don't have to change. There's no reason for me to change, because I want to be accepted in my social group, you have hurt my feelings. I am justified in doing this because they said it's okay. Whereas if those friends actually, I'm not going to start talking about like the quality of what kind of people they are, but if they would have held them accountable and said, you don't know, this is not actually good. You need to do this, this, and this. This is wrong. But okay. But it's very rare to be around people who want you to do what's best and to improve yourself instead of just like acting as echo chambers.
Yeah. And also the people probably don't want to cause problems or be disliked themselves, and actually it's so much easier just not to say anything and just to be passive. But even myself, like as a woman, you know, I thought about it and I was like, oh, should I just ignore it? But I always ignore stuff like that. I always ignore it. And I thought, should I just ignore it? And I was like, no, because everyone ignores it. That's why this happens, because no one's told that person that that's wrong. Or if they have, it hasn't been taken seriously, or maybe people haven't said it enough.
Yeah. You need to make enough of... It's difficult when you're the only one who seems to care, because it zaps your own conviction to want to do something about it. You don't really know what to do. You don't know who to go to. And then enough people will start saying, don't worry about it, to the point where you might even start questioning, am I even right to feel this? Is this something I should bring up? Is this something I should try and instill the consequences in for? So it's difficult.
Yeah.
On that theme of being surrounded by people who are like echo chambers to you.
Yeah.
Do you have any other single girlfriends who sometimes actively encourage toxic behavior?
Toxic behavior?
Straight up unhealthy. In terms of dating or interactions with men.
Actively encourage it? Like encourage me?
Yeah.
No. I've got
Good.
some really amazing friends.
Good.
Yeah, no. I don't have like my friends are like not men haters or anything. Like I'm not a man hater. It's just I haven't met the right person.
There's just a lot of men you hate,
There's
which is
just,
fine.
yeah, there's a lot of men that I think are idiots. But
Yeah.
like there's also like some of my best friends are men, and my brother is like one of my best mates, and he's a man, and I really respect my dad, etc. So yeah, I'm not a man hater at all. And yeah, my friends wouldn't encourage like they would encourage me to stand up for myself, and they would encourage me to be boundaried, and you know, which is something that I've struggled with quite a lot. But they wouldn't encourage things like, you know, ghosting or, you know, being rude to people or whatever, toxic behavior basically.
Then you're really fortunate with the friendship group that you have. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm sure you
I mean,
know
I
that
did
it's,
have-
you're
yeah.
it's rare to have that.
Oh yeah, and I definitely, and I've got a lot of friends, right, and maybe some people I wouldn't talk about my dating to, and I've definitely had people in the past that I would say would encourage toxic behavior, but yeah, I don't necessarily speak to them now, so no. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like there are a lot of women, I guess, that have gone through really bad experiences and therefore got themselves into a cycle where they just hate all men. And it's you know, actually I don't want to say that term. It's they're not attracting the right people. Even though, like, as I say, there's a lot of crappy men out there, but there are also like lovely people out there too.
Have you always had that perspective? Because it's a really fine line between, for men and women, having a bunch of bad experiences with the opposite sex and in dating and being heartbroken or whatever it is. It's a very fine line between having all of those experiences but still not ending up hating the other gender.
I mean, personally, I think I've gone completely the other way, in the sense that I probably don't necessarily see myself being with a man, and that's just because I've maybe had so many bad experiences that it's made me think maybe that's not the route for me to go down, but also just being, you know, confused about my own, like, who I'm attracted to, etc. And there's definitely, the thing is I don't know, this is a hard one, right? Because there's definitely a lot of men that do really, really disgusting things and that treat women poorly through dating. But I do also think sometimes, because it's a societal thing, there's lots of different factors that cause that to happen. And like what we were saying with, you know, dating becoming digital and people having access to more people, etc., I actually think that makes all of these behaviours so much worse. And so I guess I try to be understanding in a way. And I think I said this last time, but I also think that there's a lot of damaged people that have been through a lot of trauma and that haven't necessarily, they're either unaware of their issues and where they stem from, or, you know, potentially like being hurt from a previous relationship and therefore hurting every other woman that they date because of that previous experience. Or, you know, having a really negative view of relationships because their parents got divorced and they don't want to then go into the same cycle. So therefore they decide they just don't want a relationship at all. And because of that, they then hurt a load of women. So I think it's because there's a lot of people with like unresolved issues that they may not be aware of. And sometimes I don't know if it's a conscious thing all of the time. So I guess I try to be as understanding as possible, because maybe that makes my experience a bit easier, and it makes me not be like, oh, like, why am I the person that's being treated this poorly? I kind of think, well, you know, it's not my issue, it's theirs.
To that, I would say, I think it's a really good skill to be able to empathize with people and understand where they're coming from. Because if you have a bad interaction with someone, or let's say something horrible happens, it's very difficult to accept the situation for what it is and not take the blame on yourself if you do not understand they have their own shit going on. So it will help you in terms of sort of finding peace in a way in yourself, but it's also a really difficult thing, because if you then get too empathetic, you just have to remember
you forgive a lot.
You forgive and you start justifying why they do, because an explanation is not the same as a justification. Like, if I do something bad to my partner, I will explain why I think I did it so that they understand. And so that they know I'm aware of why it happened, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. But and I'm sure you've seen this a lot of people use the trauma as a shield and as an excuse for why they do what they do. But if you're too understanding, there comes a point where it's like, look, it's not the traumas, it's not the substances, it's not the bad thoughts, it's just you. So it's that fine
there
balance.
is, and actually, as I've got older and gone through all these experiences, and I guess I talk to so many people now about their experiences, which is good because I'm learning a lot more. As I've got older, I can be like, I get that's your issue, but that's not for me. Good. So I can understand, you know, if I am dating someone and they're like, oh, you know, sorry, my communication's bad. It's just like, I'm so hurt from my previous relationship that I had 5 years ago that I still haven't got over. I'm dating, even though I shouldn't be dating, but, you know, I'm sorry that I'm hurting you, etc., or treating you poorly throughout this process. I can now be like, I completely appreciate that. And so you're not ready to date, or you're not ready to date me, and I can move back from that situation, but I can understand why they may be doing it, but that doesn't mean that I have to accept that. So I think it's like, I can see the reality of things. Like, that's a fact. That it's a fact, but it doesn't have to be it doesn't, that's their story, but it doesn't have to be mine as well. It doesn't have to like merge into what I'm doing.
You can understand that, okay, the guy who has been inconsistent with communication because of a relationship from 5 years ago, you are able to say, thank you for telling me. It's probably good that you're aware of this. I understand this as well, so that's why I'm not taking it personally. But I also have enough respect for myself and my own boundaries to say, while I understand, I'm not going to accept that for myself. So peace out.
Yeah, and it's the same with, like men that are controlling or abusive or, lots of different things. Or, obviously that stems from something in their childhood or insecurities, or maybe them perhaps being cheated on, or there's so many different reasons as to why people behave in the way they do. But again, it's like, okay, well, you can understand that, but at the same time what you're doing isn't right, or it's definitely not right for me or other people. So it's about being compassionate, I guess, in as much as you can, but also just realizing it's still not right or not for you.
It's a really good skill to have. How would you have...
It's only been recent.
I was going to say, how would you have reacted maybe like 10 years ago when you were 26?
I would have been in a really toxic, crap relationship. And I'm trying to think, when I was 26, was I with anyone? I don't think I was.
Let's say the same situation with the guy who's really inconsistent with his communication because of a relationship from 5 years ago.
I would have... I would have sought approval, and I would have stayed there, and I would have accepted that. I would have accepted like breadcrumby behaviour. I would have accepted people just messaging me when they want to message me and meeting up with me when they fancy it. I would accept people not replying to me for days, dating other people whilst dating me. There's a lot of things that I would have accepted. I would have accepted being spoken to, insulted, emotionally, like people trying to emotionally abuse me, like literally everything.
Is it because it all stemmed from a lack of self-worth?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But also like just not being very experienced and not realising that. I mean, there's lots of things, right? It's a lack of self-worth. But I think for a long time, because I was so worried about being on my own, because I would say like, I've been the single one out of my friends, like for the majority of my adulthood. I have obviously had relationships, but they've not really been like the most healthiest or long lasting. So I've just found myself single at various points in my life. And this time I actually am happy about it, whereas before I never was. So because of that, I would kind of like desperately seek to meet someone else or desperately seek a relationship. And because of that, I allowed anything. And that's because I didn't think I was good enough to get what I wanted. So I just kind of accepted, oh, well, you know, I'm seeing this person who only contacts me like a couple of times a week when he feels like it, and, you know, doesn't actually ask how I am, isn't actually interested in me, doesn't actually want a proper relationship with me. But because I don't want to be on my own, and I think that actually this might develop into something, and I don't have the confidence to actually like meet people who are potentially better for me, because I didn't think I was better. You just deal with things. You just kind of accept it.
Do you see any of your friends around you, or maybe just people you loosely know, that are in that same situation that you used to be?
Yeah, definitely. I see my friends, like, some of them will tell me that they are dating someone who has told them they don't want a relationship. But they continue for months and months to see that person. and they know that it's not going anywhere because the person has told them. And in continuing that, they've become really, really hurt. But I also get why they accept it. And especially actually as you get older, and this is the kind of stuff that I talk about in the blog, but as you get older and you approach, like I'm 36, so I'll be 40 in 4 years. And, that's a very scary thought. But also the thought of, I might only have a couple of more years to have kids, and I still haven't met anyone. So maybe I won't have them. Unless I meet someone in the next couple of years or whatever, but maybe I won't have them. And I think I'm okay with that idea now, but a lot of women are not okay with that idea because that's what they want, right? They want to have a family and they want children. And so because of that, I do think a lot of women accept stuff that they shouldn't accept because they are scared that they are not going to meet anyone else and they're not going to end up being a mum.
They're almost settling for something that they know they don't want.
Yeah, and I also have friends that have had children with people that they didn't want to have children with, and
just for the sake of having children.
Just for the sake of they were getting older and they didn't know when they would next have a chance to have a child. And I get it, if that's what you want, if you want to be a mum that much, and you don't know when you're going to be able to do that, then I get taking the opportunity whilst you can. My need for having children has never been that strong. So, I think I'm lucky in that way because I can just accept I might be single for a while and that's okay. And I'm quite happy with that. And I'm not desperate that, oh God, I have to have children, so I'm just going to settle down with anyone so that I can have kids. Because in my head, that's actually just a nightmare. And that's the worst thing that I could ever do to myself. But I would say all of that is why women accept shitty relationships and crap behaviour from people.
It's a personal question, so you don't have to answer it, but have you considered, what are your thoughts on adoption or freezing your eggs or alternatives?
I think I used to worry and now I don't. I don't want to freeze my eggs yet because I don't know why, but I just don't have an urge to freeze my eggs. It's quite an invasive process. It takes quite a lot and I just don't have the urge right now to do that. I don't know if I care to have kids enough. I used to want them, and I think now that I am older and I actually really enjoy my life as it is, and I enjoy the spontaneity and the freedom that I have, and I don't know, I think I'm at 36, I don't know if I want to have kids.
What is the procedure for freezing eggs? Because I'm not familiar with it, as I'm sure most people aren't. Because I imagine it's a trade-off.
Oh yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know that you have to take, it's kind of like going through IVF. So you have to go through hormone treatment. I think you inject yourself. I don't know if it's every day, I can't remember. And then you have to extract those eggs.
Is it they sort of force a period so that the eggs get dumped out?
They force ovulation, I think.
But
I don't know. But it's not, basically, it's not.
That makes sense.
It's not an easy process.
My dumbass was thinking they somehow navigate into the fallopian tubes and just take an egg.
No. It's a process of.
Yes,
I know people that have been through it. It's a process of injecting yourself with hormones so that basically the eggs come out. I don't know what happens, and then they have to be extracted. So I don't think it's an easy. And all of those hormones will mean that actually you then feel for me, that's quite scary for me. feeling like emotional and irritable and anxious and depressed and all of those things, like you would feel that throughout the process. I think anyway.
Then the question is, okay, let's say you don't want kids now and you don't know if you will in the future, which fair enough. But what if you do one day, but that day is so far down the line that you're going to think back to...
What now?
Now and think, maybe I should have done it just in case.
I know, it's a hard one, right?
Because it's...
And it's something I think about a lot. I do think about it a lot because, you know, like I said, I'm like 4 years away from 40. And I'm very aware that I don't have that much time. But I think I've had to go through a process where I have allowed myself to release from all the ideas that I thought I would, release from everything that I thought I wanted, which won't make sense. But what it means is release from, I was holding on so tightly for a long time that I had to like meet someone and be in a relationship and have children. And I held onto that so tightly that dating, I just was so anxious. And every time I didn't get to that point, and every time I dated and it didn't go well, I would end up like beating myself up and panicking because I was not getting closer to that goal. And so I had to work on releasing all of that and just allowing my life to flow. And if I meet someone and it ends up that we are able to have children, great. But if I don't, that's okay. And if I get to the point where I don't meet someone until really late years down the line, and then I can't have children anymore, that's okay. But you don't know, right? Like, I'm very healthy, I'm really fit. People have children still in their 40s without any help. But also, like, with the freezing eggs thing, obviously I've never, I don't know huge amounts about IVF, but you do hear a lot of stories where, people will go through the IVF process for a long time, and because they're so anxious about it, it doesn't work. But then as soon as they stop that process, I'm not the expert, so I don't feel like I can talk about this like massively, but what I'm saying is I think like the more you hold on tight to stuff, the less it's going to happen. So I've just basically accepted that it might not, and being okay with that.
This is a difficult question, but all of the ideas and all of the dreams or what you want that you let go of, did you let go because you genuinely think it's best, or is part of it almost like a coping mechanism because by the standard that was set for you, it's getting further and further away? Like, do you think it was genuinely the best thing to do to let go, or is part of it like, well, this avenue isn't here for me anymore, I might as well believe that this is the best one? Does that make sense?
But it's like you have to it's more being accepting of your situation, right? Because like the reality is I haven't met anyone. So the reality is right now I'm not having children. And so I have to accept that, ideal world, it would be great if I met someone and I had kids. Ideal world.
Ah, okay. So you still have the desires.
But at the same time, it's okay if it doesn't happen. And what I'm saying is, like, for me, I can't hold on so tightly to things, because if I do, mentally, it destroys me. I have to be okay with being like, do you know what? I know that I wanted to have kids, and I know that I wanted to be married, etc. But actually, my life is pretty good, and if it doesn't happen, I'll make the most of it. Whatever my life is, if I'm single my whole life, if I'm, end up getting married or not, if I end up adopting, or if I end up fostering, or whatever happens, and I don't have my own kids, I'm not going to die. I'm going to be fine. Whereas before, I would literally be like, oh my God, I am so far away from meeting someone and having children. What am I going to do? I'm going to be on my own. I'm not going to have a family. And, you know, I would just go mad. So I think it's like, you know, just being accepting that life doesn't always turn out as you'd hoped or to plan. You know, if it happened, amazing, but at the same time, doesn't matter.
I see. Okay, so you still want these things, but you're not holding on for dear life, and you've accepted if it happens, you're still going to live a life.
Yeah, and also I don't know, you know, in an ideal world, but also I don't know. I don't know if that's what I want because that's what I really want it, or is it that's what I want because everyone else, that's what everyone does. That's still something that I'm working through. Do I think I want to eventually, in an ideal world, get married and have children because that's what you do? And I think, oh, well, I would like to do the same as everyone else. Or do I really feel in my heart like I actually want to be a mum? That's the stuff that I'm kind of working through at the moment.
It's a difficult question, especially when it's something this important. Trying to separate the societal conditioning compared to what you actually want is tricky.
Yeah.
I'd say it's also difficult because the reverse might be true. The reverse might actually be, it's a possibility that deep down you do want to be a mother and have kids, but because of society and everything you've experienced, you've actually gone the other way. So it's a case of like, do I want it but I shouldn't, or is it that I don't want it but I should?
Yeah, and just, you know, the reason why I don't know right now is because I'm not in the situation that allows me to believe that. So I think, so for example, like when I've been in relationships in the past, you know, there was someone that I was with that I definitely thought, oh, I could see myself having kids with you. But then as my life has just become like me and independent, because I can't see that, I don't know, I think it's because I just can't, it's so far from where I am that I just can't see it, and I just don't know. I can't visualize like how that would play out. I can't visualize like being pregnant or having kids or going to kids party or whatever, you know, whatever stuff you do. All the mum stuff. Yeah. Like, you know, the like the feeding all night, etc., etc. I can't visualize myself there.
As you said that, a thought just popped into my own head about that. Because I have very strong paternal instincts, and I used to think that I was very clear cut on having kids. But as you talked about the parties, one thing I keep forgetting is I absolutely despise the fact. If I picture having a kid, my ideal world is that me, the wife, and the kid just live in the middle of nowhere. Like, we have people there, we have social, whatever, but the idea of like the culture around kids here, mingling with all the parents, all these birthday parties, like, because I know I'm not going to like the other parents, and it's going to drive me nuts. So when I picture having kids, I'm like, oh,
I don't think anyone likes the other parents. Like, when I speak to my friends with kids, I think they all have the same view of going to kids' parties.
But it's something I don't want to accept.
Yeah.
Like, I would gladly live on a farm. Like, wake up at the crack of dawn, you have the baby crying or whatever, go and milk the cow or something. I've got no farm experience, by the way. I've never lived a rural life, but city life as a parent, yeah, that's just what came to mind as you were saying that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe because I live the life that I live, for me it seems like so.
It's not a parent's life, that's for sure.
For me it just seems my whole life would have to change, and I know everyone's life changes obviously when they have children, but yeah, for now it's not something that it's not something I know about.
I'll actually take it one step further. I think that not only the life you live now isn't that of a parent, I think the culture and the city we live in is not designed for non-single people. because everything that's promoted, everything that is accepted, it is tailored towards you doing whatever you want as an individual, you living your life and your truth, whatever that means. And it does not promote any value, any meaningful value of family or loyalty or children. So that's like an additional layer of bullshit that you have to sift through.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, even if I wanted a family, even if I'm ready to settle down with someone, this might not even be the place to do it. Like, not even just the city and going to the suburbs, like potentially this country, I don't know. That's another topic. But yeah, especially like if we link it back to the dating, social media, the dating apps, work culture, drinking culture, everything here is tailored towards single lives. That's a really scary thought.
It is, and I've fully embraced it. I love it. I love my single life, to be honest. But when it comes to then trying to move out of it, that's when it becomes really difficult.
Yeah, because it's really nice for the now, but the now is not going to be the most important thing later on. I think at the end of the day, if you were to maybe this is individual preference, but if you were to summarize the most important aspect of a life, like let's say you reach the end of your life, or you're designing someone's life.
Yeah.
The fun they have is important, sure, but the most important thing is the people that we surround ourselves by, including a partner to share everything with, because I think the only thing cooler, the only thing greater, better than having a great experience, let's say you go traveling or you do this, you do that, skydiving, scuba diving, whatever you want, the only thing better than that is being able to reminisce about it with the same person that was there with you all the time. Because I heard someone say this recently, it's like all of those memories and experiences, it's you two coming, or however many people, let's say it's a friend group, but for this example, you and your partner, you two come together to create a painting or a piece of art, but you are responsible for your own little sections. Because if you are responsible for the whole thing, you'll forget details, this and that. But then time passes, you guys come back together and you reminisce about that piece of art. They're going to remind you of this little stroke here or that little stroke there. And it's that joy you have of sharing it with someone.
Yeah. But I think to put kind of a positive spin on it though, because obviously, there's a lot of single people that would like to meet someone and they've not been able to for whatever reason. I think you can create those. The way I make my life so good, and I genuinely love it, is by making sure I have lots of experiences with lots of people, and that I make connection and connecting with people my priority. And so whether that be with like my really close friends and family, I feel lucky because there are some friends that I have that are I'm so close to, and I feel like they're my person. And because of that, I don't feel like I'm missing someone. But if I didn't have all of those people in my life, and I didn't experience all of these amazing things with them, then I think I would be longing a little bit more to have someone to do things and experience things with. And sometimes I also think it's a shame to think that you have to have that person to experience things with. I do agree with you though. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But I mean, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, for example, and they were saying that they don't really celebrate like birthdays and everything anymore because they want to have someone to do that with. And I thought that's quite, I just thought that was quite sad that they're waiting for a partner to do stuff with, when actually you could just be embracing your life and you could just be making friends, and you could even just do something or go somewhere that means that you're with people and you get to connect and have a good time and have a good experience without it necessarily being a partner. So I do agree with you because I traveled a lot on my own when I was younger, and I have no one to share those experiences with, even though I think there's like traveling on your own is the best thing, and I always encourage everyone to do it, and I actually love doing it. But at the same time, sometimes you do think, oh, it would kind of be nice to have someone to remember this thing with me, or this view, or this beach, or whatever I'm doing. But it's also about making the most of what you're doing with whoever is there, I think.
I think that ties into the idea that some people hold on to wanting a partner or a relationship so tightly that they almost can't function without it. They can't live their own life. Whereas the only thing better than, I think I know what you mean. It's great to have someone to share experiences with, but I think the prerequisite for that is that you need to be living your own life and then come together, because then if you make it all about each other, then all sorts of things happen. What happens if you separate? You are going to feel like you are no one. You might become codependent, all sorts of things. But if your life is already as full as it can be, and then you have someone to share it with, that's great. Yeah. But if you think you can't live your own life without someone, then that's when it gets dangerous.
Yeah, and again, like, this has taken a while, right? Because I definitely used to be the person that thought that I could only do stuff. When me and my ex broke up, my sudden thought was, oh my God, I'm going to be on my own again. And I could not cope with that thought. And I cried. I cried so much, not about him, because we didn't really get on. And so I was actually quite happy. But I cried so much because I was like, oh my God, like, I've got to do all this stuff on my own. Like, who am I going to go on holiday with? Who am I going to do this with? Who am I going to do that with? And actually it's turned out that I don't have time to do all the things that I want to do with everyone, because I do so much all the time. But that's good, because when you're like so focused on you're having to do something with that other person, you then also become really needy. And then when that person isn't available, or when that person is doing other things, or you're not invited because you're not going to be invited to everything all the time, you then feel alone, right? And then you then feel like at a loss, because you've pretty much just put everything on them.
I think that's also a great way for people to test their own feeling of their own relationship. Because if you're with someone and you picture yourself without them, if the first thought that comes to mind is, I don't want to be alone, that's not a good thing. I used to think that it was like romantic and sweet when people, I can't live my life without you. But that phrase repulses me now. Now, what I literally...
freak right out.
It's horrible. The good way to see it is, I can picture my life without you perfectly fine. I just really don't want that.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm afraid to be alone. It's not that I don't want to be alone. It's that I don't want to not have you in my life. That's when... And I only had this growth recently as well. I say that like I'm 45 or something.
Yeah, 24-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to think that it's that idea of, you complete each other, or like 50-50 or whatever nonsense. Like, there's a lot of romanticizing of relationships and dynamics between the couple in this culture.
It's not right. There's like, when people say things like, oh, this is my better half.
Yeah.
Like, come
what
on.
Does that even mean? You're the worst half?
This is my, this is my other half. This is my better half. This is my, there's just like, or that you're one, you're complete with that person. Yeah. Just realised I did a really weird face then.
I can understand, in theory, to be complete with someone, I think is okay, as long as when you're not with them, you don't think you're like only 50% full. Like, if you're above like a 70%, then that's good. But a lot of the time when they say they complete me, it's either 50-50, which means you're half empty, or a lot of the time it's actually they feel like a 20 and that person's the 80% that links onto them. And when people say it's my better half, it's like, that implies you're the worst half. But if you flip it a little bit, when there's a phrase I like, which is like, I am my best self with my person, which I can understand because ultimately we are easier to be held accountable when it's someone who's not us. Like when you're training in the gym, it's easier for you to get better results. It's easy for everyone to get better results when there is someone else, a trainer who you respect and you can trust that they know what's best for you. In the same way, if you're with a partner who you truly respect, you want to be the best version of yourself. Whereas, like, I know if I was single, there were certain situations that happened recently where, like, old me would have been very not ideal and wouldn't have made the situation better. But because you're also filled with like a new sense of love, you're like, oh, I can actually rise above the bad thoughts that I used to have.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like 50-50. You could just readjust that a little bit there, so it's not flopping down. Just reclip it. Yeah.
Ouch.
I was gonna cut it up, but now I want to leave that in. I'm leaving that in. What are we talking about?
That was definitely an outtake.
I've completely forgot where I was. Yeah. Okay. No, forget that. I'm so thrown off. Okay. Going back to social media.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone really benefits from having the dating apps, or is it objectively better if we just don't have it?
So there's so many people that have met their partners on dating apps. I know people that are married that met their partners on dating apps. So I definitely think there are a pool of people that are very, very, you know, they are serious about meeting someone. There's a pool of people that are serious about meeting someone, and they will do. I think it's also about like finding two healthy people and putting those together as well. Like, but there's
good luck with that.
There's lots of things here, but I think as a whole, I don't know. It's a lot harder. I would say that my life is so much happier without them. Like, I really relied on apps before, and I don't know why, because I'm a chatty person. I meet a lot of people anyway. I have a lot of friends, but I guess like coming out of the pandemic, when I became newly single, I relied on them quite a lot, because I think I kind of forgot what it was like to meet people in person, and also like, you know, events and everything hadn't gone back to normal, and the use of dating apps had risen even further than they had before. So I relied on them a lot, and the experience has really put me off so much, because I feel like it's really hard to like it's all very forced. It's forced, but it's also quite hard to meet someone genuinely. And it's also like, I feel like sometimes you're just trying to order a relationship, and you're trying to make things happen really quickly, and therefore it becomes like very anxious, and the process doesn't flow. And basically for me, anything that makes me feel more anxious is not a good thing, which is why I have to release ideas of and not hold on too tightly to a relationship, etc., etc. But I think because of that, everyone is feeling the same, not just me. So, you know, lots of women are feeling that it's an awkward process to meet people through apps. Lots of men are thinking the same thing, lots of whoever. And therefore, people also become really burnt out. And so you've got a load of burnt out people who hate being on apps. Do you know how many profiles say, I hate being on this app? That's their profile.
That's it.
That's their profile. So it's like, okay, so you're basically connecting with a load of people that hate being on the app. They don't want to meet people through the app, and therefore they don't put any effort in because they don't want to be on that app. And then everyone has a really poor experience.
That was a mouse.
Yeah.
A rat just flew by. Okay.
and then everyone has a really poor experience. But
the rat was outside, not inside. Yep. I don't have rats in the house. Go on.
But like I said, look, I know a lot of people that have met through apps, so I don't want to like disregard their experience, etc., because they can have they're married, so they will have a very, very different perspective to me. Although some of them that are married that have met through apps said that actually they found dating through apps a really hard process, and some of them went on multiple dates before they met their person. So look, there's definitely pros and cons, and I think the thing is, if you use them in the right way, there's a lot of pros to it. But if you have a whole society of people or a whole group of people that hate them, don't want to be on them, can't be bothered, are burnt out, are just dating like it's, like you said before, like a sort of hobby, like getting as many dates in as possible. I know people that have gone on 2-3 dates in one day, and or they've dated the whole weekend. So of course you're then going to burn yourself out. And how do you even differentiate these people? You're meeting like, obviously you differentiate them because they're people, but in that way it's kind of like you're just setting them up. They're on a conveyor belt, and it's like, oh, I've had a date with that person, oh, next I can't be bothered with that one, I'm going to go on to the next one. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that one, I'm going to go on to the next one. And so it breeds that kind of behaviour. So I don't know, I kind of wish they weren't around, I would say.
It's almost like dating's turned into like a hobby for them. And because I'm not involved in this type of culture, I'm sort of like an outsider looking into it. If I go on a date with someone, that's like a once in a blue moon thing, because the act of a date, I think, shouldn't be the qualifier of... But then this is where it gets tricky. So the act of being on a first date with someone, I don't think should be the qualifier of if you want to keep seeing them. I think the basis should be a friendship and shared interests or common values. And then as you get to know them and you might think, oh, we're actually quite compatible, then the date happens, because then the success rate is a lot higher. It's sort of like... oh no, ignore that. But if I was to go on a date with someone, a first date, it's exciting. I'm like, wow, I'm going on a first date. I wonder what's going to happen. I met them here. I know this about them, blah, blah, blah. But like, when was the last time you were excited for a first date? Like excited? Looking forward to it.
Yeah, like I'd say a couple of weeks ago. But then, even though I was excited for it, even then, the person very bluntly said on the date that they weren't looking for a relationship. So I was like, oh, okay.
Great.
And we got on really well, etc. But it's kind of like, well, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know why. And that, I think that's the other thing, right? Then you then meet you meet a lot of people on there, but a lot of people that aren't necessarily looking for what you're looking for. But they maybe won't say it in their profile, or sometimes you don't want to come across too like, if you ask someone straight away what they're looking for when you're just having conversation on the app, that comes across a bit much sometimes. You also don't really know them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to identify that. You kind of have to meet them to be able to be in more of a relaxed setting to have that conversation. But you're having that conversation with a stranger, and a lot of the time you'll figure out that actually they're not looking for anything serious. Or maybe they've met you and they've decided, actually, I don't think this person's going to be my girlfriend, because of whatever they think. Or you don't fit into their ideal of who they would have as the girlfriend or whatever. Anyway, the point is that, a lot of the time you go on dates and it's with people that don't want a relationship. So, the more times you do that, again, the more burnt out you get. And again, the more you can't be bothered. And so you get a load of people, again, that are connecting with each other digitally that are making really little effort. And you'll get someone every once in a while that makes lots of effort and But, you know, that could be quite rare, I think.
Yeah. Sincere, constant communication is a really difficult thing to come by. And it's sort of like the key difference, I think, one of the key differences between meeting someone properly on a first date or a blind date and meeting them just like, I don't know, you both like swimming or you both like bouldering, you see them there. When you're on the date, the premise is that you're both there to judge each other. The premise is that you want the other person to like you. It shouldn't be that way, but that's how it is. It's very difficult to trust that they are being their authentic self as well, because they're probably just doing whatever they think you want to see. Whereas if it's in a normal setting, you can trust that they're just being themselves.
Yeah.
If you just, by happenstance, happen to meet them, and then over time, like the first one-to-one time you have with them, then you realize, oh wow, we actually have a lot of interests, or oh wow, we click a lot. You can make a much safer bet that they're a lot more authentic to who they are, instead of putting on this facade, and especially online, because the dating apps, social media, you only see their wins. You only see all the good stuff. You see, I don't know what guys do on there. They flex their cars, their watches, their jobs, whatever.
Not always. I mean, actually, this might be a good time to go into sort of dating app profiles to stay away from, because actually, you would think people put their best selves on there. Do they not? No, you would think so, but you know, there's a lot of people that I mean, the best is like the men that just put selfies of them maybe like in their bed, or mirror selfies. That's a good one. You'll also get a lot of profiles of men, actually, and women. You know, this, I can't keep being gender specific, but listing out a load of things that they don't want in a partner. Listing out things that will give you bonus points.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, they're great. Like,
especially when it's obvious
and
ones.
It's really, no, but it's always stupid ones. It's like
what if you can make me laugh?
You know, bonus points if you can ride a horse, because I'm trying to learn how to ride a horse or something, and you're like, right. Bonus points if you can play tennis, because I want cheap tennis lessons, or I want free tennis lessons. Right. Okay. Or people that just put their height. I'm 6'2", because apparently that matters, and that's their whole profile.
Yeah.
So actually, you would say that they're putting their best selves forward, but I don't think that is.
Well, here's the thing.
Always true.
Do they think it is their best?
Again, it comes down to a lack of effort. They can't be bothered, and that's another thing, that this is why dating apps are so hard to navigate, right? Because you have some people that genuinely want to meet someone on there, and they're genuinely going to put the effort. They put the effort into their profile, like I always do. I'm always like, my profile is my personality, which is maybe why I don't get that many matches. But because it's just whatever I've put on Instagram, or whatever kind of stuff I talk about on there, or in my day-to-day life, that's pretty much on my profile. But I do that because the person that is will align with me or want to date me will see me will maybe just get a better idea of who I am. And those people that think I'm a bit cringy and whatever, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to date them anyway. But there's so many people that will just put like their photos and no bio, nothing about themselves. They won't put their intentions or what they want, because actually it's too much effort for them to do that, and they can't be bothered. And so therefore, again, it's like, you know, when you match with one of those people, you're more than likely going to get someone who doesn't really make an effort in the conversation, doesn't respond that much, isn't really on the app that much, can't really be bothered, but they want a profile there just in case they see someone that they like.
Just in case the bare minimum actually pulls something.
Actually works.
Yeah.
And also not wanting to put so much effort in, because if it doesn't work,
it's an excuse as well. Like, I didn't try that hard.
Yeah. Well, you know, I only had a photo on there, so you know, not being able to take. Actually, if you don't get that many matches,
the
or
rejection
you don't get,
feels harder.
Yeah. So I think there's always like so many things to this, isn't there? There's like so many layers to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a lot of people put in the minimum effort because they're also really scared of the rejection of what if I put up a photo, I don't get any matches. I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's just a picture. But I've, hand curated a selection of pictures that best describes me. I've put in a bio. I've been open and vulnerable with my intentions, but I still have no matches. Then that's like, ooh, that hits home. That hits closer. Yeah. And people suck at rejection. Yeah. So they don't want to do it.
But it's like, even, I don't know, like putting up an Instagram story. Like I go back and forth with this every day. But say if you put something up or you put a reel up or something that's like really like bearing all, or that you're being really vulnerable and then no one likes it, like that's a hit, right? Because it's taken so much effort to do that. And yeah, it's the same with the app. Like if you're there saying, I want to meet, I'm looking to meet a partner, I'd like to eventually have a family, or this and that, and people aren't matching with you and they're not responding to you, etc., it's then a hit on, oh God, actually, people aren't really interested in that now. Am I going to meet that person, I suppose? But also it's vulnerability, isn't it? And you're putting yourself out there, and that is a really, really hard thing.
It is. And what you were saying reminds me of a post that I made, I think back in August. I was it's probably the only vulnerable thing I have on my dance page, but I was saying how dance basically sort of saved my life in a way. And in the beginning, it felt really weird to even consider doing something like that, because I thought, oh, what if people don't like it, blah, blah, blah. But then I realized, actually, I guess it's different because I'm not running a blog. I don't have a specific thing that an outcome I want to result in. But my perspective was simply, I am not posting me being vulnerable for the attention. I mean, on a level I am, because it's social media. But I'm posting it so that me being vulnerable is out there.
Yeah.
I'm not posting it so it gets the most likes. If it gets some likes, that'd be nice. I'm posting it so that those who it could resonate with, it will resonate with. Because obviously you're never going to please everyone. I'm sure a lot of people maybe unfollow me after that. They think, I was just following you for cool dance videos. I don't care about this. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Those are not the people you want. Just like you were talking about, I think, yesterday or today or something you posted, you need to make content as if you have 1 million followers, so that even if 2,000 people unfollow you, you're not going to notice.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I'm not posting this so I am liked by everyone. I'm posting it so that the people that would like it can see it and they can like it, because then for you, especially, the community that you build is going to be a lot more authentic to what your values are.
Yeah. And actually, I saw something earlier today, and someone had posted something saying, I only got 100 likes, or I only got something. And he said, but what if that was 100 people in a room with you, like clapping? What if that was 100 people in a room with you and they all resonated with what you said? Yep. And so I've started to think that, like, okay, I'm not, to be honest, I'm trying to resonate with people, and I'm trying to connect with people that need encouragement and support, and that know that actually a lot of us are going through the same thing. And so if that's only 5 people, and if that's only, like, I'm lucky that loads of people are reading my blog now, but if I only thought like 10 people would read it max. So if it was helping those 10 people max and they were feeling encouraged by it, then that's kind of like all I needed really. And I think it's the same thing, isn't it? It's like, if you're being vulnerable and people don't accept it and don't like it, that's okay. But actually there'll be that one person out there, if we're talking about dating, that one person out there that's like, no, I see you and I understand you and I want to connect with you.
It makes it all the more worth it. And social media, the numbers have distorted what we see as a lot, because like you said, 100 people watching or liking a video might not seem like a lot in the grand scheme of hundreds of thousands and millions, but if they were there in front of you, that's a decent crowd. And I just remembered why I made that video that I talked about in the first place. It was to remind people why they started dancing, because there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of playing the game, there's a lot of I need to make my profile look the coolest and show the best parts of everything. If it's your job, fair enough, it's different, but I started because it was fun. Yeah. I started because it brought color back into my life, and because of the world that we live in, this applies to dating, this applies to everything. It is easy to get lost in the dark sides of the cultures of what we're part of. Yeah. But sometimes it just takes a little reminder. So I made that video as a reminder to people to remember why they started, to seek connection with your partner for those however many minutes, be respectful to them, and just have fun over everything else. And even if it got 7 likes, that is 7 people who maybe resonate with that message. Yeah. Same with your blog. There might be many people who don't care at all. Yeah. But if
that's okay.
But if it it's okay if it makes a difference to those few people. Like a really cool parallel is also people who try and make money off Instagram accounts, for example, think you need hundreds of thousands of people, but the attention does not necessarily mean customers. The views on your blog does not necessarily mean people that it's touched. Some of the most successful people who have their business purely on Instagram, they have 1,000 followers, that's it. But it's because all of those people resonate with what they're saying. Yeah. And the more you can filter it out, the better. Yeah. Because if your goal is just attention, just the numbers, then you can do all of the latest stupid trends. You can jump on TikTok, do whatever stupid shit they're doing there. But if your goal is to connect and make an authentic community, you've taken the slow road, but in the end, I think it pays off a lot more. Because then you have the people feel loyal to you, the people feel a sense of connection. Just the other day, I was watching a video of I've got no idea who he is, but a YouTuber who said he's 31, he has had 2 friends in his whole life, and after starting his YouTube channel, which took years to grow, just out of the blue, he decided to do a little trip to some theme park in the state that he lives in, and he told his subscribers about it. 10 people showed up, and that is the most loved and it's the most connected he has felt his entire life.
That's lovely, but
it's really sad. He broke down crying as he was talking about it, because as he was on that trip, you think oh, these people online, they're just viewers, or they're just eyes that are analyzing everything you do. But no, when you see them in person, they are people. The amount, even from this podcast, this is episode 6, I'm not expecting much to come from it anytime soon, let alone ever. I've had maybe 3 people who I've never actually talked to, but know me from dancing, come up to me and just say nice things about it. And I was taken off guard. So there was this girl who I've seen before, but I've never spoken with her. As we were having our first dance, before we did, she said, "By the way, I saw the episode, I watched your podcast and I really liked it." And I was just taken aback. I was like, oh, I'm going to blush. That's really nice. Yeah. So don't be afraid to let the people who are not interested in you to fuck off.
Yeah.
Because the community you build this way,
it's a genuine one.
It's a genuine one, and it makes all the more different. Just again, the experiences that you share with a partner, or the people that you have in your friendship group, you can share very much the same experiences with people online. Who knows? Maybe in a year or 2, or however long, whatever comes from your blog, you will still be connecting with people who can say, "I was reading your stuff from the day you started publishing it. I was reading your first ever entry blogs," or whatever it is. And that is also another connection that just makes life, it makes it really warm.
Yeah.
That took a complete detour that I wasn't expecting at all. Funny dating stories, go.
God, funny dating stories. God, do you know what? I don't want to be, there's so many outrageous dating stories, but I don't know if it's actually I can even say this stuff online.
Worst case, I'll just do something.
I mean, the most outrageous dating
Is it
story.
something I'm sure, if it's words.
Illegal related.
Oh yeah, you can.
Okay.
You're not an accessory to the crime, are you?
No.
That's
So
fine.
like stuff like for a while, for some reason, I just attracted loads of cocaine addicts
Lovely.
that I didn't realise until like the date.
Sure.
Or before, they'd say, you know, we'd maybe be talking on the phone or talking over message, and they'd be like, oh yeah, like I've got a really big cocaine problem, or I had a really good big cocaine problem.
Really
And I'm
good.
like, really good. I had a really
It was
big
great.
cocaine problem, and I'm like, okay. But one guy, we went on this date. He only said it on the date, and he told me that he did so much that he then started putting it up his bum. And I was like, right. Like, how do you even react to that? He just
how do you put it? How did he?
He was just putting it up his bum, and I was like, why did you do that? And he was like, because he was like, I couldn't get it up my nose anymore, and he was like, and it just goes into your bloodstream so much quicker.
Does
and
it?
There's me, like, we're just out for drinks at this pub in Crystal Palace, and I was like, wow, okay, like, where do you go from here?
Did he? The wrong thing to focus on, but did he explain how he did it? Like,
No.
Was it a funnel?
No, he then said he ended up in fetal position. Yeah, and kind of did that position as well. That was really interesting. And I thought, wow, okay. And then
Gave me a headache.
there was another one
Yeah, go on,
actually
give me
I
another
found
one.
quite funny.
Yeah.
Was he kept talking about his ex quite a lot, and
That's always a great sign.
you know, a lot of people talk. Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of people love talking about their exes, but this one was great because I was like, this sounds quite recent. Like, he's talking about his ex as if they've quite recently split up, and there's a lot of emotion attached to this conversation. So I asked him, I was like, well, how long have you not been together for? And he was like, oh, like a couple of months. He was like, we're still living together. But don't worry, like, it's completely over.
All right.
And I was like, right. Why is that an okay thing to say? You know, how is that an okay thing to say to someone on a date? Anyway.
At least he told you that he's living with her. Like, there'll be so many guys who will also just pretend they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
At least you know.
At least I know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any others.
Cocaine up the
I
bum.
mean, there's definitely been people that have got, like, themselves so drunk that they, like, can't stand up. There's lots of drug related ones. There's lots of, like, I don't know why. There was so I went through this phase where I just literally, everyone I spoke to was a recovering coke addict, and
Everyone.
yeah, like, it was like, it seemed like not everyone, but like every guy that I was trying to date.
Did they approach you or did you approach them?
It was, again, on an app. This is like on an app. Or one guy, this was quite funny. He was like, it's quite sad actually, but he basically, like, just told me, like, he didn't have any friends, and that he basically was really, really wanted to go on this date with me as more of a social thing, but he was quite angry in the fact that he actually just hated people, and that's why he didn't have any friends. And I was like, I'm not going to go on this date with you because I just don't feel like we're going to be very aligned as people. And then he had a go at me and got really angry that I was stopping him from making new friends by not going on the date with him.
Shame on you.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, you come across some odd people.
What's been the nicest first date you've been on? Please tell me there's been one. Like, one that's genuinely a really good date.
Yeah, I have been on some really nice first dates, actually.
What comes to mind? Describe it. Paint the scene.
I'm trying to think. I would say the one with my ex-boyfriend years ago. We met through an app, and think that was so nice because it wasn't like particularly flash or anything. Like we just went to this place in Brixton for drinks and then something to, like, I think it was like tapas or something. It wasn't like it wasn't that memorable in terms of what we did, but I think the nicest thing to it was we just got on really well and it was so relaxed and it wasn't weird. It was just two normal, I probably was like the oddest one out of us, but like it was just two normal people that were just having a laugh and everything was really funny. We found each other really interesting. It went really quickly. It just felt like we were supposed to be on that date together. And then all the dates after that, all the first dates, the dates, the second, third, etc., that just all felt really natural and normal, and it just felt like a laugh. Whereas, and I think that's what you want, right? Is you just want it to feel natural. It doesn't have to be like some flash place. You don't have to be doing like this really amazing thing or in a really expensive restaurant or whatever. It just has to be like you feel comfortable with that person and I guess they're like seeing you for you and just kind of accepting you, but also like they're not like, I don't know, they haven't got like major drug issues and whatever.
Just minor.
It's quite a good, you know, they're not putting stuff up their bum.
Cocaine up their bum.
Yeah.
No, those are the nicest ones. I was talking with someone recently. Excuse me. I was talking with someone recently where one of the guys they were dating was like a finance guy. So he had quite a lot of money. And I don't remember if it was the first date or just a date or just a night out, but she went with him and I think a couple of his friends, which I guess it wouldn't be a date if there's other people, but whatever. They were at this fine dining place. Apparently they had a hobby of going to newly opened Michelin star restaurants and just kind of reviewing it amongst themselves. And obviously fine dining it tastes great, but you are going to be left starving at the end of it.
Yeah.
Go to a McDonald's either before or after it. So they deliver the one scallop on the plate. It costs like God knows how much. They all spend like, I think $2,000 for that night or whatever, but she just felt, I think so.
Wow.
She felt so out of place because they have books of the reviews they give all the restaurants. They're not food critics. They just do this for fun.
Right.
Which, each to their own, whatever. But she was telling me that story and she said, I would have really just preferred we get a McDonald's and go sit somewhere and look over the city. Yeah. And it's what you're saying. It's not necessarily what you do, even though it's a part of it. It's just who you're with and the fun you have. Like, you're not going to remember the details as much as you're going to remember how you felt. Yeah,
and I've been on some really fun dates with people that I would not ever want to be there with. Purely because, I've been on some really fun dates with people I'd rather not be on dates with.
Okay.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I've been to some really fun places, as in like...
Just with the wrong people.
Stuff like crazy golf, which I find really fun because I'm competitive, or like, playing like table tennis or playing pool or whatever, like playing games, I've been to some really nice, like taken some really, really nice restaurants, but the people that I've been on the date with have either been assholes, really toxic, or like way too full on. So it's definitely not about where you're going.
Yeah.
And that's, to be honest, again, that's another learning curve, right? Because I used to be like so funny about, if they're not taking me to this, I'd want to be taken to somewhere really nice, and I'd want it to be like all this exciting, like I'm getting to try out loads of nice places in London. But actually, to be honest, like now that I've dated so much, I don't really care about that. I don't care. Like, I just want to like meet and connect with someone. It doesn't have to be, and I think that's the thing with meeting someone in person, right? Is it's just a natural progression where you would maybe just meet through work or meet through someone you knew in like a pretty normal standard place, and you would just get to know someone slowly that way, as opposed to it being like a forced environment where there's quite a lot of pressure involved. And also the other thing is, right, when you meet people on dating apps and you go on the date, you're also a bit concerned if they pick somewhere too flash, because then you're like, well, how about if I actually don't get on with them and don't like them? And then there's more pressure, right? So, yeah.
As a side note, that's why I always opt for a first interaction to be like a coffee date, so that you know if there is more to be had after it. But no, it is completely forced. That's what it is. Even going out of the house at this point, on some level, is a conscious social interaction that we need to have. Like, you can order whatever you want on Amazon and it comes to your door. You can order takeout food, groceries, it comes to your door. You can swipe everything on all of the dating apps, not even at your door, from your toilet, in your bed, wherever people do it. So to actually go out, it's becoming a lot more of a, not forced, but it's an active choice. But some people, because they're not sincere with it, or because they don't really want to do it, they're acting as if they are forced to do it, when they're the ones that you are the person that came here. Like, I'm looking to connect with someone on a date. Why are you not? If that makes sense. But then there's loads of reasons why, obviously, and it just turns into a bit of a shit show. What are some of your deal breakers or immediate red flags when you do go on a date with someone?
Their relationship with alcohol or drugs is now my biggest red flag. And I'm not saying I don't want the person to drink. That's not what I'm saying. It's if they have a healthy relationship with it at all. But also, I think as someone that is like sober curious and, to be honest, doesn't hardly drinks now at all, I find it a red flag when someone tries to encourage me or push me to drink when I've said that I'm not going to drink. And I find that a lot with dating, actually, that people will kind of be like, oh, you're not drinking? And then ask you a lot around that, or just wonder why, or then think actually you're a bit boring because you're not drinking, or they wanted to drink and they feel insecure that they can't drink, or they think they can't, even though it's fine, I don't care if you drink or not. But they're insecure that the other person isn't drinking because, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of an attack. It feels like a bit of an attack to them, maybe, or it feels like I'm saying, well, I'm better than you because I don't drink, which is not what I'm saying at all. So that's quite a big thing. So basically, like, how someone reacts to that. But also, I have had a lot of experience with, in the past, partners that have been like drug addicts. So I obviously do not want to be with anyone that has a bad relationship with drugs. And so as soon now as someone mentions that, or mentions that they do them frequently, that's obviously a no-go for me, because I'm not replaying like the same situations that I played years ago when I was younger. And I think it's like when I don't feel like someone is genuinely interested in what I'm saying, or I'm saying something, or I'm having a conversation and they're not really asking me more about it, it's kind of like a bit surface level.
Like you feel like almost being interviewed.
Yeah, so for example, if I said, oh, I'm recording a podcast this weekend, and they're not asking me about, oh, what's that about, etc., and I say something and the conversation doesn't, if it's just like very basic conversation, then to me that's a deal breaker, because they're either not really interested in what I'm doing, or they just don't get it, and that's fine, but I want someone to get it. So it'd be those, I think it'd be those things. And I know this sounds, negging is a big one.
Which is?
Negging is, and a lot of people do it subconsciously. It's when someone kind of compliments you, but they give you a bit of a backhanded compliment. So they're kind of insulting you a little bit at the same time. So then they'll be like, oh, I never found you attractive before, but I actually do now because you're doing something, that kind of thing. Or
Sure.
I've had guys on dates being like, oh, I think you're starting to train too much. You're going to get too big.
Is that supposed to be a compliment? That just sounds like an insult.
I think it's supposed to be a compliment in like, oh, like you train and you're strong, but it's sort of like a be careful because you're going to get too big.
Be careful or I might not like you anymore.
Yeah, so like it's stuff like that. So as soon as anything like that comes up, or I feel like someone's like digging a little bit, then that's a deal breaker.
What are some of the common, if you want to share, some of the common negs that you've had?
Common negs?
Yeah.
Oh, people being negative towards me.
Like negging.
Negging.
Is there a trend of certain things they would say?
Oh my God, I had like someone say that I'm skinny, but I've got quite a few rolls on my stomach when I sit down.
And they meant skinny as a compliment or what?
I don't know.
Why?
I think so. I think they were trying to say, oh, you're slim, but you actually have like rolls. This is all true stuff, by the way. And it's not just me that experiences stuff like this. I've had loads of stories from people that I talk to about stuff that like men or women have said on dates to them, which you just think, wow, like, why would you say that? I've had someone say that I don't drink enough water, which is why I have loads of spots on my back.
Right.
What else? Yeah, just comments about like me going to the gym is quite a big one. Comments about me being boring, but as in a jokey way, boring because I'm not drinking.
Right.
Yeah, people basically like. People saying that I'm uptight because I don't want to get drunk.
Right.
So maybe I express it in an uptight way. I don't know.
Just casually shaming you for not wanting to get drunk.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say that kind of thing.
I'm guessing you've been getting it a lot more since you've been sober curious.
Yeah, but also I've dated a lot less since I stopped drinking, and it's not because of anything. It's just at the time that I stopped drinking in I think beginning of July. I also just wanted a break from everything, and I also just wanted to embrace my life, and I just wanted a break from like desperately trying to meet someone and going on dates that I don't want to go on and all of those things. So actually I've been on less dates. It's not like I have spoken to people and I have been asked on dates, and I guess when I'm like, oh yeah, but I don't drink or whatever, when that's come up in conversation with people that I'm speaking to, then there can be a lot of questions around it and people thinking you're boring, basically.
How do you physically feel that you haven't really been drinking that much since July, you said?
Yeah.
How do you physically feel?
Much better. And when I do have, like I had a few at this work thing I went to, just like to get to know people a bit. I wasn't drunk, but I had a few drinks. And I felt it so badly again the next day that I thought, actually, I just don't think I can, it puts me off every time I drink and I feel the effects the next day. It puts me off even further.
Yep.
I feel like my skin's much better. I feel like I'm glowing more. It's less like dehydrated. So that's like physical stuff. But also I feel like I'm sleeping better. I feel more productive. I get a lot done. If I was hungover, for example, on weekends, I would probably just sit there all day and do nothing, or like lie in bed watching stuff. I would sleep a lot. There were lots of negatives to it. Whereas now, I'm like fresh every day, so I can do stuff every day.
And you're not wasting your money on it as well.
And I've got way more money, which is good.
Can you just switch the microphone to the other side?
Oh, hang on.
The mic. Unclip.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Also, is it really long?
I don't actually know.
I think it's nearly 3 hours.
It can't be.
2. Okay.
It can't be. It can't be 3 hours. I think I'll be tired by now if it was 3. No. We'll wrap it up. I want to focus on the blog just for a couple questions. We touched on it a little bit, but how do you navigate what you want to write about versus what the market or your audience want to hear about?
I suppose I get my inspiration in lots of different ways. So it could be, sometimes you have to kind of jump on trends, right? And it could be a reality show that everyone's watching, like Married at First Sight, for example, that I know everyone's watching and they're kind of obsessed with. And that's all about dating and it's all about meeting your partner. But because I relate to a lot of that stuff, I can then write about it. Or it will be something like, you know, when the Barbie movie came out and it was all about women having to be a certain way. And there was so much debate around it that actually I had to write about that. I could not write about it. But also I'm constantly like reading and listening to podcasts, and I'm aware of things that are being spoken about in social media, and sometimes I'll have a different perspective on it, which is why I write about it. But also it's about, like, the whole purpose of blogging is really just to talk about my life and about where it is right now. And so a lot of it is depending on what I'm doing right now. So like, you know, at the moment I'm very much happy like being single and being with loads of friends and living my life the way I live it. So a lot of my content will probably be very focused on the way I'm living my life at the moment and how I feel happy that I'm not desperately searching for a relationship. I guess I'd like to talk about dating apps more and not being on them so much, and how actually that's built my confidence in a lot of ways. And the reason why I'd like to talk about that is obviously because everyone's on apps, lots of people are getting bored of them and are looking for new ways to date. And because I'm going through that process at the moment, I know that it's something relatable to other people. So I think it's just a mix of things, really.
Do you ever find yourself, is there any part of you that, because you want the blog to be successful, that you ever catch yourself considering blogging about something you really don't want to do at all?
No.
Solid.
Because the reason why is because I wouldn't be able to write about it. So, okay, this is a really, really good example. Someone suggested that I maybe do something around single parents dating. I get where they're coming from.
But you're not a single parent.
But I'm not a single parent, and I'm not that bothered about kids. And so I find it, and actually sometimes I find it really hard to connect with my friends that are parents. Not because, you know, like I love them, they're my friends, etc. But I don't get their world because I'm not in that world. So although I think that would be a really good angle, I can't talk about that myself because I don't know it. Or sometimes people suggest that I talk about things or write about things that would be interesting, such as like, you know, maybe like outing more people or exes and things like that. And I don't feel comfortable personally with talking about those things. And there's also, you know, stuff that I just don't particularly agree with myself. Like the whole obsession with narcissists. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but sometimes I think that there can be too much of a focus on certain things, certain terms, or a lot of stuff that goes on in the dating scene can be like romanticized. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to say this in a good way, but basically, if I don't completely feel aligned to the topic, then I can't just write about it because it's not me and I wouldn't be able to make sense of it.
That's a really good trait to have, because I don't remember who said it, but there's a quote that most people don't have an opinion on something until they are asked about it. You might not think anything, like if you were someone else, you might not have any thoughts about single parents dating because you're not one, it's not your world, whatever. The minute someone asks you about it, some people will be like, this is what I think, blah, 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 blah. When in reality, you don't have any thoughts, you don't care. It's okay to not have an opinion on it. So you're in the minority with that, but it's definitely a good thing. With your blog, do you see a specific future of where you want it to go? Or it's just whatever happens, happens?
I would like it to be a continual thing, but what I'm hoping, so there's, this is like this mad idea that I have, but there's someone called James Clear, who's an author, and he wrote Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah.
And he started a blog years ago, and he still has it. And he basically turned the blog into a book. And now his blog is this website, and it's got extracts and videos from the book, etc.
Is Atomic Habits the book?
Atomic Habits is the book. It's a really good book, actually. And he has split his website into pages of different articles where he talks about lots of different things. Mm-hmm. And basically that's what I would like to happen eventually, is that I still have this blog, but I maybe do my own podcast and I'll have that on the website. I will then maybe like branch it off into different avenues. Who knows, like by that point I could be in a relationship and I could start talking about things like how I got into a relationship and maybe issues that I face with like early stage dating. I think there's loads of avenues that it could go down, but what I would like ultimately is for that content to go into a book and for the book to be the main, the main product or the main goal.
That'd be pretty cool. Authored by Daniela Rizzo.
Apart from I hate the name Daniela.
Danny?
Yeah.
Would you have a alias?
No. I'd want to be known for what I was doing. Yeah. But, there's also, there's also negatives to that too, in the sense that I guess the more you put yourself out there and the more you're visible, the harder it is.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to all of this stuff. So, like, I think I was saying this a little bit before, like the pros are making myself more visible so that I eventually have more readers, and when I do publish a book, saying this as if it's definitely happening, when I do publish a book, I already know that I will have a community and I already have readers, which is the purpose of all of this basically. And so there's that, but then at the same time, the more visible you are, the more your work and your opinions and everything is out there publicly, and the more chance I'm going to get criticized, unfollowed. I'm kind of like nervous for the day where I post something and someone disagrees with what I'm saying, because eventually I might have followers that I don't know. Whereas like, the people that comment on my stuff now are all my friends, right? They're all people that I know, or they're people that I know through friends or family. There's definitely going to be a day where I say something and I piss someone off, or my view is very, very different to other people's views, or I say something about things like children or fertility or whatever, like narcissists or whatever I'm talking about, and someone's not going to like it. And I guess that's a concern.
It's a scary thing to think that with a big enough audience and enough attention, that all of everything you said is going to be under like constant scrutiny, or it's going to be under a magnifying glass. I think it's a win-win though, because if the community that you've built, if the engagement you get on social media is only ever good things, you haven't reached enough people. because you know that you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
Depends how those criticisms come about. If they're just attacking your character or name calling or just hating for the sake of hating, then you can safely ignore it. But if someone sort of calmly and respectfully brings up a point like, I think you're wrong because this and this.
Yeah, then actually that's good.
It's good. For me. It's more engagement. You can build, it's respect within your community as well. You can learn from it if you realize that actually they're right. Or you can then solidify your own views because you are forced to defend them for someone else. Or not forced to defend them, but you are trying to seek out the truth. And if you believe your views are the truth, then you just talk. You have a back and forth. Like, with my own content, with whatever I create, I would love if that happens, because you know me, I like to debate things. I like to talk about it.
Yeah.
If I was to make a video on something fitness related, let's say, and someone genuinely disagrees and is very sincere, like we said earlier, if their communication is sincere, that's what you can hope for. And it's really easy to see if someone's like looking to just attack your character, they don't like you for whatever reason, or they are actually looking for a conversation. Because I think knowing you, you might have the initial element of confrontation isn't nice. It's scary, but I think maybe you'll warm up to it. You might even grow to cherish those moments.
Yeah, I think I just have to see things a bit more positively, I think. I think, but it's just because it's just, I don't know, it's
hasn't happened yet.
It's stuff that I'm not used to, and it's stuff that I never even thought about, you know, like when I started blogging, in my own like naive head, I didn't think anyone would really read it, but in my own naive head, like I didn't think people would disagree with it or unfollow me or whatever, or think it was a bit odd, etc. I just was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing now. So then I think the more and more I do, the more aware I am of what I'm doing. And it's a whole, but then it's okay. I deal with it, and then I'm like, okay, well, I've dealt with that and I can move on, and now I can progress. But it's all like new challenges that I come up against all the time.
And every challenge that you get, it's a necessary stepping stone for you to get your blog or your projects to wherever it is you want to get them. So if you were never running into any of these things, then clearly something's not going right. So there's some comfort you can get in knowing that people don't like what you say.
Yeah.
Basically. What sort of feedback have you gotten from people that maybe you didn't expect from your blog so far?
I don't think I expected anything. I have got feedback, people saying that they really relate to what I'm going through or relate to my experiences. People saying that I've like become a voice for them. I've had lots of people like clapping and encouraging me and telling me like to carry on and like keep being open. Yeah, like lots of people saying, I had someone saying like, thanks for being brave and for speaking out, because like it's people that are like helping and encouraging other people. I never really thought I'd get any of that. And just people that I knew from a long time ago, like school friends, etc., that I never actually really spoke to that much. And it's only since I've started blogging that I've started speaking to them again. And that's only because they've contacted me about it. And that's nice because it's made me feel more connected and I guess more accepted as well, because I think I was saying before, I wasn't really accepted when I was younger. I was quite like I wasn't the popular kid, basically. I was definitely the odd one out. So, yeah.
It's pretty cool that you've had the effect that you've had.
Yeah.
Feels surreal?
It's weird. Yes, it feels really strange. And also it's like, it's not I don't know, I also don't know where all these like viewers have come from either, like, because I don't have a very big social media following, so...
The algorithm does what it does.
I don't know where I've like I'm starting to get blog subscribers now to the website, and I'm like, where do they, like how have they come across it or whatever? And so that's a really surreal feeling, like to know that someone's actually subscribing and reading what I'm writing regularly because they actually find it interesting enough to read. Yeah, that's odd. Nice feeling though, but yeah, very odd.
You happy that you started the blog when you did?
Yes.
Do you think the old Daniela would have had the courage to do it?
No way. But the process of blogging has made me more confident. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg sort of thing. It's come hand in hand. Because I guess the more you do things that make you feel uncomfortable, the more it just becomes normal. Like even with, the first podcast last week, the whole sharing that made me feel sick. Really physically ill and quite emotional, and watching it was really hard for me. But for this one, I don't think I'll mind. I think it's different because we're not talking about my experiences with my eating disorder, and we're talking about general dating themes. So I'm not being as vulnerable. So I think it will be a bit different. But also it's like my face is kind of out there now. So, that was the first one that's out of the way, and you can only just progress from here. So actually it's been a good thing. I'm really glad that I had that mad idea to do it because it's worked out well.
Yeah, the initial shock.
God knows why I even thought of it, but what triggered it, I don't know. But
you did, and here we are.
Yeah.
The initial shock of coming on the first episode sort of wore off, and we did it in a bit of a reverse order, where the first episode, where you will feel the most uncomfortable, was also the most uncomfortable topic to talk about.
Yeah.
And now you feel more confident, but this stuff is also a lot easier to talk about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we chose an unconventional route to take. But I think we'll leave it there. God knows how long it's been. I didn't wear my watch. But
I think
what time is it?
What time did I get here?
About 12.
Do you reckon we started about 1?
Maybe. What time is it now?
So over 2 hours.
What is it? 2:30 now?
It's 3:06.
3:06?
Yeah. So you might have to split it.
I need to go see my dad. I'm not going to split it.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. We'll do the big one again. Okay. Well, I'll link your blog and your Instagram in the bio again.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you want to say as a final comment?
No. Just thanks for listening. Read my blog. Thanks.
Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.